Right about here, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to get yourself and your soul together.
Are you ready? I said, are you ready? It's time for the Chris and Andre Show.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we haven't been recording. We have had life happening, all types of good stuff. Chris has been redecorating his podcast setup like every other week, I guess. Doing a lot of travel. But
yeah,
if you've ever listened to some of our earlier episodes, I have this, I wouldn't call it a love-hate relationship with some technologies. Some technologies I just don't like. And I think I kind of went out the gate early on one called Docker because I couldn't. But I have found myself in recent weeks using more and more Docker containers and not so much hating Docker.
So I think to provide a little bit of background on this topic, when we were working at DZone together, Andre, that was right around the time, I guess, that Docker really kind of blew up in terms of popularity. And Andre just did not understand. It's like, great, you can do containers, like, but it was everybody wanted to put everything inside a Docker container. It was like, just because you could. Even though it served no actual purpose. And so I think that spawned a lot of your initial pushback. It's like, sure, use it where it makes sense, but it is not the end all be all of technologies that's going to solve all of our problems, right?
It was so obnoxious. So our CI CD pipeline, or continuous integration, continuous deployment pipeline, was pretty solid. And we had a lot of, our load balancers were efficient, all the good things. We had all the things done the right way. And somebody suggested we should put it into a container. And I was like, why the hell would you do that?
Are you some kind of moron?
Why would you
do that?
Yeah. You wouldn't there are, I can think of some use cases. Let's say you're running Postgres on a Docker container so you don't pollute your whole system. Okay. You're just not changing the ports, but to put entire applitions, our particular website and product that we sold didn't need a Docker container. It just wouldn't. I don't think it would function properly. But I can see isolating a database for certain instances, and probably some other like Redis, a Redis server. I could see isolating those because they will pollute your system, but you can get to them from a port. So, and I don't want to go into the weeds, but it just didn't make any sense. And it was put a container inside of a container in a container. It was
Insert
annoying.
exhibit meme here.
Yeah. I hear you like containers. So,
So what are you using? I guess two things. First, what kind of brought you around on Docker? What helped you or caused you, I guess, to re-examine it? And then two, what is it that you like about it? And I guess three, what are you using it for? So that's two questions in 3 parts, just to be clear.
Yeah. So you got to make sure I answer them all. What I like, let me start with what I like about it. And I kind of alluded to this before. Sometimes when you're installing some open source application, or even some production ready applications, there's a lot of dependencies, and I like to keep my servers pretty sterile. And when you start installing Redis and installing this and installing that, there's extra components. I don't necessarily want to be like part of my world. Something needs it. So let it stay with that thing that needs it. And if I don't want to use it again, I can get rid of it. And I experienced it a lot with Arch Linux when I've since moved away from being a hot rodder with Linux because I'm like, yeah, I can't maintain this server with this crap on here because I'm losing my mind. So the ease of keeping things in, for lack of a better word, a container, and it doesn't interfere with the rest of the server or the system is brilliant. And so I like that part. Mm-hmm. And I have found there are a lot of open source projects. Like I'm using a tool called Arcane to manage the Docker containers because I haven't made the time to become like a Docker pro and memorize all the commands to when I want to get rid of a container and prune it and get rid of all the leftover stuff. So Arcane makes it fairly easy for me to do that. And I think at last count, whether it's the local servers I have here or the ones I have running remotely, I have about 8 servers running. And it's really easy for me to spin up an instance of something. So as opposed to configuring multiple different environments and multiple different packages and programs to work with a thing, I can just install a container and deploy it, and boom, I've got the thing I want to use. So whether that's Docker, whether that's Arcane, whether that's a Discourse server, which is a forum platform, whether it's my own private Git instance on a remote server, having like a container experience allows the developer to kind of live through that it works on my machine and now it should work on your machine. It eliminates some of the setup and trial and error to actually get some of these cool tools to work. So that's what I enjoy about it. I'm not a Docker pro, so there's that. But I know enough about Docker I've built a couple containers, in the past, but I don't deploy my own software in Docker. I will use other things. And if it's available for me to use in a Docker container, one of the tools we're going to look at tonight is actually running in a Docker container on one of my personal servers. So yeah.
Nice.
Was that all 3 of the parts?
Yeah, I think that was all 3.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like any technology. I kind of feel the same way about AI. They're good utilities, but they're not the panacea that people think they are, and it's just not a thing. AI, and I wish there was a better term to use in AI, but there's not, because then it becomes just like my personal preference. They're not bad tools, but they're not going to, I don't think they're dramatically going to change the world. So yeah. That's kind of how I felt about Docker. And it's true. There's a use for it. It's just not for everything. So
yeah, I have found several good uses for, certain forms of, I guess, AI. I think primarily for checking over stuff that you've already created. Like if I've already written something and asking it to kind of review it and whatnot, then I think it does a pretty good job. Asking it to generate something from absolutely nothing is a lot riskier, I think, of an endeavor, at least right now. And yeah, I don't know. It's so many of the things that it isn't artificial intelligence, right? But we've just lumped them all into basically like deep fakes are considered a form of AI, which I don't understand, because it's not like the deep fakes themselves aren't smart, right? Like they're not, like none of this stuff is thinking for itself in any way, shape, or form. All it's doing is regurgitating based on the inputs that you've already given it. So I don't know. I feel like there was a race to get to AI, right? Like the concept of AI. And so the moment that we felt like we were even remotely close, somebody was just like, we'll just call it artificial intelligence. I mean, that's practically what it is.
Well, I think that's partially true. I definitely believe it's a bubble. It's not creative, to be quite honest with you. It is a very useful execution of LLMs, and I'm okay with that. But you're right. But I also see I see some jobs going away. Like, I'll take copywriters, for example. I think generally that most copywriters won't go away, but the ones that do probably weren't like the best, right? And I think copywriters will pivot more into editing and steering the... Now, I will also say, as I'm saying this, sometimes you spend more time like steering the agent to do the thing that you could have just done it yourself. So,
well, but according to all of the YouTube video ads that I see, I just need to take a 3-week course to learn how to prompt these tools to give me, so that way I'm an expert on AI prompting, because that's going to be a required job in the future.
I don't think so.
Yeah, neither do I.
Yeah, I think that's not true. I obviously enjoy technology, but I think that, I was looking through my YouTube feed today, and everything is a course, everything is a gimmick, everything is it's like people cater to the algorithm. And I think that's pretty sad. But I also think that back to AI, back to Docker, it's the same problem, right? Where you have a useful technology, the wrong people amplify it, and then it gets blown out of proportion. And then years later, you can actually see the usefulness of it. Now, has Docker gone away? No. Has it really improved? Not so much. Is it a useful technology? Yes. But was it the promise that was given in the beginning? No. I kind of feel the same thing about what will happen with AI.
She's probably using AI on him.
Wait, AI like as if?
Yeah, as if.
Oh my god.
I know.
You two are making me feel smart.
Thanks for checking out the Chris and Andre Show. This is the part where we ask you to like and subscribe. You could also leave a comment and share this with someone you think would find useful. For more content like this, head on over to chrisandandreshow.com. Remember, stay sane, stay safe, and stay salty. We'll see you on the next one.